So once you've exported your OMF from Premiere, we just need to right click on it and open it with Adobe Audition. We want to create a new folder to store all those files in. And then all of our editing work is there. Now we just need to add a video track and take the thumbnail that we generated and drag it up into there. And then we can start doing our sound edit. I'm going to close this one all down. And now I'm going to open up the audition file that I want you guys to be playing with today. And so when we get in here, we basically have that window where when we drop in the video track. Let's go ahead and do that again. Tracks, add video track. And grab that video asset, drag it in there. And so that ultimately will be playing up there. Now this particular track doesn't have anything to do with our world, so I'm just going to delete it. We can also create new tracks by adding a mono track or adding a stereo track. We can change the size of these tracks. I'm scrolling up and down on my mouse on this side to make the tracks fatter, and then I'm scrolling up and down on the mouse to search all the files when things start getting too big. There's another way that we can create a track. We'll just grab just any sort of generic sound effect and just drag it in here, and it will create a new track, and it will identify it as a mono track, or let's just drag in another track right here, and it will identify that as a stereo track. And what's nice is that these things can live in the same track. So those are ways to get files into the system. We've got our mixing window where we can put our filters when we get into that portion of the section, and then for the sound mix. And then the editor window is for when we're building up tracks. When we get into this world, actually, so I'm going to delete this track. We can move these tracks up and down by grabbing that upper corner and dragging them where we want them. We have some settings here for mute, which will basically turns off all the sound. Solo is if everything's turned on and you just want to listen to one track. We've got solo, and we also have record, which we won't be messing around with too much because we'll be doing this mostly for post. And in our world, the record is generally for when we're doing ADR. So I'm just going to unmute our first track and listen to our first sample. If we want to raise the volume of that sample, all we have to do is lift this yellow bar with our tool. And what's cool about this tool is that wherever you hover around on this track, it will change what it does. So we can use it to edit with if we want. We can use it to put soft fades in and out. And it becomes pretty darn useful. If you hit R, there's a razor tool that we can use to edit a single track, or if you hold down the shift bar, it'll cut through all the tracks if that's what you need. And I'm going to hit undo about that. So we've talked. So I showed you how to adjust the volume level. Let's go ahead and show you guys. There's also a pan function, which is this blue line. And so we got a car pass. Okay, and so I'm going to hit P for the pen tool. Oops. And I'm going to put some, we're going to pan the stereo on this bad boy so that so in this way it moves left to right, or we can reverse it and have the car pass from right to left. And the tighter we kind of cross into that event, the more extreme we'll hear that fading. Okay. Let's go ahead and there's also a time stretch function for this. If this is toggled on, we can then hover right here at this little upper triangle and make this event last longer without changing the pitch. Now, we can only get away with so much, because if we take it too far, it starts to get all buzzy and noisy, and so that's a problem. But we can also shrink it if we need a shorter event, and shrinking it won't affect the noise as much. Next thing that I want us to do is take a look at, I've got a bit of ambience right here. And one thing we can do, what's kind of nice about this, is we can copy this, Command C and Command V paste, and then we can copy incidents of ambience and cross dissolve them. I'm going to hit the backslash to fill it up, and we can, so it's really easy to kind of copy and cross dissolve ambience in this world. I want to start talking about compressors. And so in order to get a really useful feel of these compressors, we need to also learn how to set a loop. And so basically we need this blue loop button open in order to do that. And so I'm going to go to the very left, and I'm going to hit I to set the first loop, and then I'm going to go to the end of this clip, and I'm going to hit O. And so that's going to give us the loop that we want to listen to what we need. And so for this, we are going to add a single band compressor, and let's just keep playing it back. So if we look, we'll see that -12 is about the highest that this voice gets up to, and we need to boost that signal. And for a compressor, what it does is it takes lower noises and raises them up. And so let's basically, we want this to kick in at -30, so we'll drag that to there. We want to boost those sounds in a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 or 4 to 1 are the most common, and that's what we'll pretty much stay at. And then we want to also then boost the overall volume. And so by using compression, we've been able to boost the loudness of this sample. Now it does bring up some of the background noise, but if we have a loud ambient track, that'll make that go away. Let's go back to where'd my door go? I'm going to right click here and clear out the time selection. My door sound effect disappeared, so I'm going to have to drag it back in. Alright. And we're going to set a loop on for this door. And we'll set it a little bit past the sample. Because these effects right now, we are putting them on the track, the entire track. So everything that's on this track is going to get this sample. And so let's go ahead and play with a delay sound effect. And I want to just listen to. Let's pick another delay. Without it. That's normal. That's with the bounce. Let's try Spatial Echo. And so we have the ability to change how much delay that we want to have on this sample, and then how much we want to hear that sample. So that basically keeps the volume of the delay louder, and then we can just keep pulling it back. And let's try stutter. Let's hear what that one is. So that's basically what delay does. I'm going to just turn that off. And now let's listen to echo. And that sounds pretty cool. I'm going to turn that off. Now, we can also add make sure this is selected. We can also add effects directly to the clip, but something like echo will not be good for us because it will only last as long as the sample is. If we pull this out, where if we put it back on the, if we turn it back on our track effect, then it doesn't matter what the sample is. It's as long as it's playing on the track, the echo will continue. Next thing that we want to look at is reverb, and let's play with full reverb today. Let's see what Martian echo sounds like. And we have the ability to change the room sizes and how much reverberation we want to hear. Let's listen to King's Bathroom. And so those are some common effects right there. Now let's go to our next track. And we're going to do on this particular track, we're going to add a clip effect. And we are going to go to where are we going? Filter EQ, and we're going to add parametric equalizer. And so this is the motor of a car. And what I want to do is I want to create a low pass filter out of this, which will only allow the low sounds, the low frequencies to pass through. And so we'll turn on low pass, we'll set the slope to like 12, and then I'm just going to slide this here while we're playing it till that whiny hum goes away. And now it kind of sounds like a more sci-fi kind of motor sort of sound. We can also do the same thing with a low pass filter. And a real common use for that, for a low pass filter, is to like create a telephone effect. So we've got some music here. And we're going to turn on the high pass filter, set it to 12, and I'm just going to drag it this way until it starts sounding really tinny like a radio. Alright, so those are some basic filters that you guys will be playing with. Once you start stacking up a lot of effects, you're going to start slowing down the system as it tries to render these effects in real time. And so one way to, like let's say we've got echo, reverb, and a whole bunch of stuff on this particular track. One way to kind of like get more out of the system is to hit this render bar and give the track time to pre-render all of those effects, and so then it'll take some work off the CPU as you're playing things back. So this is your first introduction to Audition, and we'll get into the second tutorial next.